Been game changing having real internet up in the mountains.
I'm sure.
I don't know about your struggle. So
Yeah,
I remember when last time I was in Denver, he was like, yeah, you should come visit and come spend the weekend. I was like, okay. And then he goes, oh yeah, he has a guest house and I can use it for the weekend. I'm like, no, I'm not going to the woods and then living in a home by
Yeah,
myself. I watched enough movies for this.
she's afraid of out like natural places and outdoor spaces and green.
I'm a city girl. My name is Kimberly Simon. I am here with Nick Angodi and with Brian Marshall. We have been friends for over a decade now. So we get together, we talk about life and cybersecurity, and this is what we do. Typically, they're enjoying their cigars. We'll have a drink. We'll talk about whatever. So you're sitting in on that, and welcome. We're talking about vulnerability scanning, vulnerability management. So for those of you that do not know what that is, this is when you identify known vulnerabilities within your network. So let's start with you, Nick. What are the benefits of doing that? And what is the easiest way to do that?
vulnerability scanning. It helps you identify vulnerabilities in your systems that, from an external standpoint, that are in your external. Also, those systems should be contained in your system inventory. If you get into a more detailed inventory of systems, you know what's externally facing or should be externally facing. Internally, same kind of concept. If you're running network segmentation and you're separating out finance from maybe an engineering department, from a sales department, that's a good way to protect your network and then build secure networks, and manage risk and minimize exposure for things like ransomware and other things. Internally running those scans helps make sure that your network's built and designed and running exactly the way you think it is, and that you're only seeing the ports and services between network segments that you're supposed to. And then also it helps you kind of validate from like a patching standpoint, making sure systems are patched. And I mean, oftentimes that's the resolution to a vulnerability scan is this going to tell you, hey, this port and service running on this system is running an old version of SSL or whatever it is, and that there's a newer version out that you should patch.
Let me hand over to you, Brian. Maybe you can talk about how often you should do your vulnerability scan and any tips for them to take away.
Yeah, so really that kind of touches on the most critical part of vulnerability management is remediating what you find. We do definitely see customers that run regular vulnerability reports and then they just file them away and they're like, yeah, we do vulnerability scans. So and that also ties into the other imperative basic that most organizations really aren't doing very well is patching and applying regular system updates. So in terms of frequency, I think that's really going to depend on your organization. How frequently does your environment change? What kind of information are you handling? How sensitive is it? Is the information you're handling regulated in any capacity? Those will all drive the frequency and seriousness by which you take the exercise.
If you take anything out of this entire conversation, realize that when, most of this software that we're using, when they do update their program, they're addressing some of these vulnerabilities. So if you're using an old version, you're putting yourself at risk.